Welcome. Today I'm at the easel. Thanks again for coming back or stopping by to visit. And thank you to those that watched episode 2 last week about the art auction. I know, lots of important information, but maybe just a tad too much. We live and learn, and that's what life's about, right? That's what this YouTube journey is about. Today you might see that I'm not wearing my mic, which attached to my iPhone, by the way, was a really good system. The iPhone has a really great camera, and then the mic was bad, but I put the mic in, and it was like success for very inexpensive. It was like a $20 level or mic, and I already had the phone, so I solved that problem. Well, kind of starting over, back to square one. But anyway, what happened is that I took a bit of a swim in the ocean with my iPhone this weekend, yesterday, and my phone is out of service. It's drying out. I don't know. It might survive. I'm hoping. I'm praying. Anyway, I was hanging my Ocean Park collection of 7 paintings at a home near the beach on Sunday, and I needed hardware hooks for hanging on a cement wall. So I decided to walk there to the Ferreteria. Instead of taking the sidewalk, I took the beach route because I'd rather just be at the beach. At one point ahead, I saw the water coming up to the rocks slightly. Instead of turning around, it was just ever so slight. Of course, I could make that. But when I went through that section and I put my hand down on the rock, the wave came over me and my iPhone. So I'm making do here with my iPad camera and my microphone. So, well, we'll see. Hopefully I can fix this up in a little bit in the post-production editing. I've started this new painting, and it is a marvelous antiquated tractor that is at the edge of an avocado orchard on the ranch of my dear friends Marianne and Kevin. As some of you may remember or see from the photos, I stayed there last summer camping in a trailer while I was painting a mural on the trailer for someone else. I always wanted to sit here by this tractor and just paint this, but I never did get the chance. Luckily, I took some photos. Once I begin painting in a minute, I will move the easel, and you will only hear my voice, and my hand. See my hand. I will, and hopefully not my arm. I will start with, hopefully I'll just be using these two mainly, these two flats, a large 1/2-inch flat. These are my favorite brushes. They're rosemary brushes from London. A lot of the contemporary artists use them, and my children, I have 2 sons and adult daughter, and they bought them several years ago for my birthday, and I just love them. The artists like Lori Putnam and Shelby, many artists use rosemary brushes. In fact, I think this is the Lori Putnam signature selection, Anyways, one more thing before I get started. I'm a non-toxic painter. I don't use solvents. Today, these cups are walnut oil and translucent wax medium. I use the walnut oil to clean my brushes, and a mixture of the oil and the wax if I need a medium, a little more viscosity. But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and let's get going. Here we go, blocking in, starting with the dark shadow shapes. After getting a basic and then a detailed map drawing of what I want to accomplish in this painting, I start with the darks. I call it a map because it helps me navigate the painting. Here's a initial map, the first little sketch, just to diagram the shadow shapes and the composition. Like I said, I call it a map because it helps me navigate the painting if I should get lost along the way with too much detail or incorrect values. I want to create connecting masses of shadow shapes first. It's hard because I don't want to lose the lines that I've drawn in. So I set the shadow shapes with a translucent dark oil paint. Today I'm using a little hooker's green with transparent red oxide and violet and a little ultramarine blue. The problem for me is that usually you can thin this mixture down with solvents, which work really well, but I don't use solvents. So I use a mixture of walnut oil and translucent wax. It takes longer to dry, but it works. So this wonderful rusty-colored antique vintage tractor is so gorgeous, right? Wonder what type of tractor it is and what year it is. Anybody know? Comment below. I should call Kevin and ask. Let's take a break from this block-in for a little slideshow of the day I came across this beautiful inspiration that demanded to be painted. It was June 21st, 2021. The morning started out much like most days at my campsite on the ranch at the edge of the Los Padres National Forest. A deep cloud of fog settling into the valley below as the sun rose in the sky. So magical. The horses stood in line like soldiers in the fog, and the quiet hush came over the pasture. It was like a dream summer, camping and painting on the mural on a trailer at the foothill of the Santa Paula Peak and the Topatopas. This day the cows were in another pasture. I painted the mural without any four-legged bystanders. Then I took a break, took a walk down the road, past the pasture with Kevin's backhoe, and eventually winding my way towards his avocado orchard. I picked some fruit and found a squirrel's tail coming out of his little burrow under a tree. Cute, bushy tail, but horrible pests, those brown squirrels. That's another story for another day. When I came around the edge of the backside of the orchard, there she was, this gorgeous tractor, retired in all her rust-colored glory. So what do I do? What do I look for when I'm trying to find something to paint? How do I decide what to paint? Asked my sisters Cindy and Eva. Thanks for the questions. Well, I look for dramatic shadow shapes, a vocal point, a main actor, at the junction of one of the 4/3 quadrants of a picture plane, or a winding pattern, or dramatic diagonals that could lead one around a painting to the vocal point and stopping along the way. I'll explain more about what those compositional concepts mean as we go along. But some days we see something that just demands to be painted. That was this day. I took photos of many angles, intrigued by the details, the shapes, colors of its wheels. I loved how the zigzag of the mountains and the midground created two diagonals and a winding path to the tractor. That was the final layout photo with a grid over top, and that was the reduced to values, people call them. Here is the initial drawing, and here is the initial quick sketch of shadow shapes and composition. This is my process. Under the thumbnail sketch, look, I drew a little line showing the winding path I can take through the painting. More on that later. Using the computer, I spliced two photographs together, and then I cropped to the desired square composition. As I mentioned, I drew a grid on both the canvas and the photo to assist in accurate drawing. To see the values, we reduced the photo to black and white. Values do all the work in a painting, you know. If you get those right, you're successful. So let's get back to the painting in progress. There's a plane going overhead. I hope you're enjoying the music. So here we are back at the block-in. I'm showing you almost every stroke. So to fit it all in, I had to speed up the time. I'm still trying to figure out how to film painting, and will improve as I go. Maybe with a better camera mount, and when I get my iPhone repaired or replaced. Although this is a block-in, I try to be really deliberate and lay down the color and the value correctly the first time. I'm not painting this fast. It looks really fast. If I painted it this fast, it would be a mess. It's always good to just not just paint quickly and haphazardly and just willy-nilly. as if to music. You need to slow down and look before going on. I usually take time, breaks, and look and see what I've done and see where I need to go. It would be a mess if I painted this fast. Like I said, these highlights are just a little premature, but it just gives you an idea. It gives me an idea. Okay, where are my lightest lights? And I could go on and start. My goal is to get this canvas completely covered first round, and then go back and paintings are layers, but I don't want to get into too much detail. But since I've got green on the brush, I'm going to touch these other trees in the back. Some of the trees on the mountains and some of the trees back there by the other tractor and the water tanks. I finished the row of avocados. Now on to the darks of the tractor. I love the shadow shapes. That's what drew me into this. It's those really, really special. I'm zooming in on this because it's a square painting and the video is horizontal, so I'm trying to figure out how to best do this without cutting anything off. I'm trying to not waste any strokes while focusing in on the darks. I'm using a crimson and violet mixture with a little burnt umber to make the darkest green. Umber to Did you know that burnt sienna and ultramarine blue is a great way to achieve a dark? Not black, because as impressionist, as I think I'm a representational impressionist, we don't use black. But if you put burnt umber together with, and then this is how I used to, I learned from a teacher that I had during the pandemic, Tim Hall. He's a British painter, and I studied with him every week. We had these Zoom classes with about 6 students, and it was really nice to be able to get together with other artists. He was really funny, and they were really funny and fun. It was just fun, and I learned so much. And that was his style. So it's good for portraiture to get a modulation of grays. Put all your colors out, and then you mix up these grays. It's the burnt umber and ultramarine blue. You half that, put white with it, and then you have 2 piles, the really dark and then a dark gray. Then you half the dark gray again and mix white in with that. Now you have 3 grays, and then you take the lightest gray and put a little white with that, and then you have 4 grays. A complete modulation that you can use, and it really helps to mute your colors. I'm going to put Tim Hall's information, contact information, his Instagram and Facebook. I think he still teaches weekly Zoom classes. It's a whole lot of fun. So, although every color has a complement, and if you add that complement to your color mixture, like for example, if you're painting greens and you want to mute them, you want to reduce the intensity, you put a little red. There's several, alizarin crimson or any other one, and it will immediately mute it. It's the way I usually make gray. I usually gray down. Gray isn't like a color for me. It is although here we've got gray on these, I'm painting gray. It's also a way. It's a way of dealing with color to make it softer and not so harsh. And really, as it is in nature, these concepts that I'm talking about was the green, and also the shapes. Paint shapes, not things like subjects. Don't think of it like I'm painting a tractor, I'm painting a tree. Paint what you see. Paint the shapes and the colors and the hues. And there's a lot of teachers that I've had say the same thing, and I try myself to incorporate all these ideas. Value, for example, like I said before, does all the work. You get your values right. You paint shapes, not things. You mute your colors, and you work with all sorts of different compositional. But there's this one guy, IanRoberts, who says it really well, and he demonstrates it really well. And he's got a YouTube channel and a book, Mastering Composition. And he sends out a free video every Tuesday and a demo, and you can learn a lot from him. And he's very concise, very personable, very knowledgeable. It's a pleasure to watch him. He's Australian. They live in California. His wife is an artist. She was in the show for art about agriculture last year, I think, where I had one painting. I hope she's going to be in it again this year. He's a great teacher, and I'll put his contact information in the below. Although I try not to be detailed, like I've said before, I don't want to waste time, like later on having to refine the perspective of the way the wheels go, for example. I want to get that right from the beginning. So there's that kind of detail. I want to be deliberate. I don't want to overwork the painting, like too much detail now and then later on more detail, and then I just repaint it and repaint it. I want it fresh. So I'm trying to set it down here correctly, but not get caught up. I strive to see the light and the dark forms to simplify. That's why artists squint your eyes. You probably know that. Most of you know that. To see shapes and values. I hope you enjoy the music. I'm just going to let you watch the painting for a while, and I want to talk about this book that I think you might be interested in. It's about creativity. My son actually gave me the book. For, I don't know, several years ago. His birthday's coming up on Monday. He lives in California. His name's Nathan. The name of the book is called BigMagic, and it's by Elizabeth Gilbert. It delves into her own perspective on creativity. Fascinating. She asks us to embrace our curiosity and give up needless suffering. It's an exhilarating book that talks about how we can live our most creative lives. The book examines our outlooks and attitudes and how to discover habits to adopt to achieve our best creative life. I read this on the beach, a lot of it on the beach back years ago when I used to go to the beach often, walk on the beach every morning and study the ocean, read books. It was a magical time. She talks about strange jewels hidden within each of us. I remember learning about this when I was reading it at the beach. At the least, this book can help us to become more mindful. It talks about how to deal with challenges, and at its highest aim, it's to get us to take up and realize that dream we've deferred too long. Do you have a dream deferred? I see I'm getting a little pink in there. It's a dream deferred. I love pink. If I can fit it in somewhere, I will certainly try. Do you have a dream deferred? Is it writing a book? Painting full-time for me? Serious about a doodling sketchbook? Whatever it is. Do you have something that you always wanted to do that you've been holding back? You don't even want to think about it, maybe? The first chapter of her book is 4 chapters. I'm just going to talk a tiny bit about the first beginnings. It's titled Courage, and she talks about what creative living is. She has a definition of creativity. On a sidebar, I looked up creativity, and I found a lot of information, a lot of different quotes and ideas, definitions from artists and people. But this is hers. She says, "What is creativity? The relationship between a human being and the mysteries of inspiration." There's the orange. It's going in. There I'm painting that orange. And the little pink on the seat there. No, on the back of the seat. That's probably going to be gone. These things inspire me. No. Picasso was coined saying this, but I'm sure other people said it. It's that, inspiration will find you working. This is me. This is not her book. This is just my sidebar on inspiration, what I've always thought and what I live by. I just get up and I work. Whatever I need to do, if I need to make a frame, if I need to draw this, if I need to paint this, if I need to do this, I just do it. I just make a plan and do it. And as I'm doing it, I will be inspired. I don't wait around for inspiration. I just do it, and that's my way of looking at it. She says it's the relationship between a human being and the mysteries of inspiration, as I repeat. She asks us readers her essential question upon which all creative living hinges. Do you have the courage to bring forth the treasures that are hidden within you? When I first read this book, like I told you, I was at the beach. It really spoke to me. I was very inspired. She points out that although she knows nothing of our aspirations, she is confident that we are all repositories of buried treasure. Okay, I'm doing the ground. We've got the trees in, we've got the tractor blocked in. Now we're going for the grasses and the dirt. A little too pink, it needs a little change, but at least we're just getting the basic colors in here. And we're getting the canvas covered. That's the goal. That's the goal of this first day of painting, is to get it covered. Okay, so we are all repositories of buried treasure, she says. She says this is the oldest and most generous tricks the universe plays on us human beings. She says this is the oldest and most generous tricks the universe plays on us human beings. She says the universe buries strange jewels within us all and then stands back just to see if we can find them. She says this is like a humorous thing, both for the universe and for us. I laughed when I read it. She says the hunt to uncover those jewels, that's creative living. In my bio, after I read this, I changed my artist statement, my bio on Instagram, and I said, that's what I rise every day curious to see what is to be made through me, because I just totally believe that. I believe that, just wake every day and be curious about what it is, that hidden treasure that's within you, and try and find it. Even if you don't find it, it's the hunt, she says. She says the hunt to uncover those jewels, that's creative living. The courage to go on that hunt in the first place. Let me repeat. The courage to go on that hunt. What's the hunt for? Uncover those jewels within us. That's what separates a mundane existence from a more enchanted one. I'm getting in that back area back there. The water a little bit too defined, and I don't know if that angle's right. that's too bright, but we can tone that down. See, you're getting that zigzag. If you'd see the top of the painting, you'd see the zigzag of the mountain. And it all works together to create a, I think, pretty interesting composition. Let's see if I can bring it off. Okay, so let's say this again. The courage to go on that hunt in the first place, that's what separates a mundane existence from a more enchanted one. That's what I want to live, an enchanted existence. Going with courage, going on that hunt to find those hidden treasures within me, creativity. The often surprising results of that hunt, that is what she calls big magic. That's where the book gets its name. The often surprising results of that hunt. Be courageous, go for the hunt every day to find what's hidden within you, creatively wise. I love this book. It's like I'm getting to the point covering up all that yellow orange. Some people don't like to have a bright under painting because it's just a challenge to try and get it covered. This is a little too yellow. I wish I would have done it a little more orange. I love it when the orange peeks through where the mountains hit the sky or the shore hits the water next to the blue. Because the orange and the blue, it complements next to each other. Just put a vibrancy, I think, in the painting. Shelby Keefe does it marvelously. That's where I kind of learned it from. But it's true. Sometimes it's like it's a battle to cover it, and you're trying to stay within your values and your colors, and it throws you off. You're just working so hard. I did that once with a portrait of my granddaughter, and it was just very difficult. So I'll be covering up this orange pretty soon. It looks like I'm almost 3/4 of the way, a little more than 3/4 of the way, don't you think? Okay, so back to the book. You have to read the book to listen to her tell her stories. You've just got to read it firsthand. An amplified existence, she calls it. What I like about this book is that she's very clear in telling readers that she's not necessarily talking about people pursuing a life that is professional or exclusively devoted to the arts. She's not telling anyone to become a poet and go live on a mountaintop in Greece or, play at Carnegie Hall next week or anything. I mean, go for it. Swing for the bleachers, she says, but that's not what she's talking about. She says an amplified existence means living a life that is driven more strongly by curiosity than by fear. And that's the key. That is the key right there. And as this hurricane comes, which is not a hurricane, we're on a hurricane watch for Fiona. Fiona's going to come and give us a lot of rain in a couple of hours. Hopefully I can get this recorded before the electricity goes. That's my excuse. That's my story. If it's not perfect, I'm blaming it on Fiona. No. She, Elizabeth Gilbert tells a story about her friend Susan, who grew up figure skating, and she hadn't skated since she was an adolescent. She's like 45 or 50. She tells the story now. I'm not going to tell it like she tells it, but I'm going to just muddle through. She had quit skating when she was an adolescent, when she found out she didn't have enough talent to be a champion, which happens to a lot of people. They stop doing things they love to do because they're not going to be top, which is a shame. There's some information on that in the book. It's worth a read. But for the next quarter century, she never touched skates. And on her, I think it was her 40th birthday, she was taking stock of her life as we do on our big birthdays. And she, I'm getting on the mountain. I'm doing the mountain. Looks like a little polka dotted, but there's some, it's supposed to be lavender. It looks a little gray to me. back mountain's purple. These are just the block-ins. I will refine it, but hopefully I've got the basic colors right. I'm moving right along. I am not painting fast like they're taking shape. They're taking form. They're taking form. Okay, back to this skater. So she was taking stock on her birthday and thinking, when was the last time she was truly joyful, felt creative in her own skin? She realized it had been decades. And she followed her curiosity and found a rink and hired a coach, bought some skates, and she just did it. You know, like the Nike saying, just do it. Just like I'm doing this YouTube channel, just do it. I'm not doing it perfect, and hopefully I'll get better. Thank you for hanging in there with me. But you just got to do it. Just do it. She did not quit her job. She did not sell her home. She did not move to Toronto to study with some high-level skate coach. See, that's not what this book is about, and that's not what she's advising anybody to do. She's not saying go and be somebody big in some artistic way. She says about Susan, skating is Susan's way of unfolding a certain beauty with her life that she cannot seem to access in any other manner. That's creative living. Oh, and here we are. We're getting to the blocking in the sky. We're almost done. We're almost done with the block-in. Creative life is an amplified life. It's a bigger life. It's a happier life. It's an expanded life and a hell of a lot more interesting life. Living like this, Gilbert says, continually and stubbornly bringing forth the jewels that are hidden within you, is a fine art in itself. Because creative living is where big magic will always abide, she says. Courage. Yep, this is scary stuff. If you already have courage to bring forth the jewels that are hidden with you, terrific. Rock on. You probably don't need her book. But if you don't have the courage, she wants to help us. This book is great in the sense that she wants to help us as the creative living is a path for the brave. I'm blocking in the sky. Finally there. It's completely covered. Here are a few examples that Gilbert gives in which we may be afraid to live more creative life. Brace yourself. You're afraid you have no talent. You're afraid you'll be rejected or citizens or criticized, ridiculed, or misunderstood, or worst of all, ignored. You're afraid there is no market for your creativity and therefore no point in pursuing it. You're afraid someone else already did it better. You're afraid everyone else already did it better. You're afraid someone will steal your ideas, so it's safer to keep them hidden forever. Oh my gosh. In the dark. You're afraid you won't be taken seriously. You're afraid your work isn't politically, emotionally, or artistically important enough to change anyone's life. You're afraid your dreams are embarrassing. You're afraid that someday you'll look back on your creative endeavors as having been a giant waste of time, effort, and money. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of discipline. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of workspace or financial freedom or empty hours in which to focus on invention or exploration. You're afraid you don't have the right kind of training or degree. You're afraid you're too fat. I don't know what this has to do with creativity exactly, but experience has taught me that most of us are afraid we're too fat, so let's just put that on the anxiety list for good measure. You're afraid of being exposed as a hack or a fool or a dilettante or a narcissist. You're afraid of upsetting your family with what you may reveal. You're afraid of what your peers and coworkers will say if you express your personal truth aloud. You're afraid of unleashing your innermost demons, and you really don't want to encounter your innermost demons. You're afraid your best work is behind you. Oh, it's looking rusty. It's looking rusty. I'm loving it. I'm loving that orange. It was way too light. I love that pink, but it was way, way too light. Now I've lost the highlights, but I can get those back. So are you afraid you neglected your creativity for so long, now you can never get it back. I was worried about that one. You're afraid you're too old to start. Don't do that. You're afraid you're too young to start. You're afraid because something went well in your life once, so obviously nothing can ever go well again. You're afraid because nothing has ever gone well in your life, so why bother trying? You're afraid of being a one-hit wonder. You're afraid of being a no-hit wonder. Listen, she says, she doesn't have all day here, so she's not going to keep listing fears. It's a bottomless pit anyway, and a depressing one. I'll just wrap up my summary, she says. Scary, scary, scary. Everything is so GD scary. I'm editing that word out. And then she talks about her mother. Probably the best thing. You know what I learned right now? Is that her mom grew up in Minnesota, the product of Scandinavian immigrants, just like our mom, my mom. Of course, we came from Minnesota, but she actually grew up on a farm in North Dakota. But anyway, Elizabeth Gilbert's mom, farm in Minnesota, the product of Scandinavian immigrants, my mom's Norway. She was not about to raise a little candy-ass little girl. Not on her watch. She talks about her mother who wasn't having a minute of her drama, which is probably the luckiest thing that ever happened to her, she says. She made her do what she feared most. Scared of the ocean, get in the ocean. Afraid of the snow, time to go shovel snow. Oh, we had to shovel. Well, we were a little young, but I think that's why we moved to California. We weren't old enough to shovel snow. Can't answer the phone, you're in charge of the phone. Argue for your limitation, and you get to keep them. That's very fun. I'm getting in that dark. That's actually the wheel well. That's a very dark place, and I should have had that dark. And you know, you have to step back from life, and you got to step back from the painting and figure out what it is that's missing. Why she would want to keep her limitation, she didn't, and it turned out she doesn't want us to keep ours either. Okay, during my next video, because we're about done with this one, we will discuss more about the big magic style of living creatively. If you're interested, let me know. So, we got I'm working a little bit on the details here. Trying to get the form of this and the colors right, the shapes. I like the darker on top of the tractor, but now we don't have the sun hitting it right. But all that will come in the next. You know, I really thank you for tuning in to this third episode of my very first painting in progress video. It's well on its way, and I'll be letting it dry for a few days, study it for composition and values. I see it's gotten to be a little bit mid-tone, but I don't want to go too dark. I really like a high-key painting. So I got to play around with that and make sure I've got... The place where you want to focus is the focal point, and then you try to not blur out the rest, but, you know, so your eye... That front tire and the shadows and the light around that is my main focal point, right where I'm painting right now. Not right there, but in that region. So that's where I'll spend a little time tightening it up and then try and do soft edges other places. Talk so much, I wanted you to hear the music. I'm starting to feel those tires in the front seem to be well on their way to sitting grounded on the ground in the right direction. That back tire, no, it needs work. I can see that now. You know, you're tempted with those wires and all of those things to put more detail in, but you've got to remember, you're not painting things, you're painting shapes. And everything will read correctly if you do that. See you next week. Hi. Thanks again for tuning in and watching the 3rd episode of My Art Studio Vlog. It's my first painting progress video. I think the vintage tractor painting is well on its way. I'll be letting it dry for a few days and sit back and study it for composition and values. And then next week, part 2, I'll meet you right here next Saturday and see what I've achieved in the last week. I hope you have a creative week too, and you plan on facing your fears like me, and do some digging for that hidden treasure inside of you. If you want to, we can discuss more ways of putting that creative living concept into action in our lives. Again, thanks for viewing and subscribing and liking. I really appreciate it. And I got to sign off now because I got to get ready for hurricane watch of Tropical Storm Fiona that's set to hit us in about an hour or so, bringing about 10 inches of rain and wind right here in Puerto Rico. Thanks so much for stopping by. See you next week, hopefully.